Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. Presented by Dr. Anjani Sharma. Robert Frost, a brief biography. Robert Frost, the quintessential of New England, was born in San Francisco on March 26, 1874, and died in Boston on January 29, 1963. Robert Frost's work was mostly associated to rural life of New England. He was greatly admired for his depiction of its pastoral scenes, the settings of which he used to explore complicated philosophical and social themes. His command of American colloquial speech and his realistic verse portraying ordinary people in everyday situations made him widely known and oft-quoted poet. But this fame did not come so easy and quickly. His fight against discouragements within his country continued well after 1911. He could not publish a single book of poems, even when he was at the age of 40. However, a turning point in his life came when he made a radically new start in London after leaving his own home in America. English publishers in London were more receptive to his innovative verse. Within a year, he published his collection of poems, which contained some of the standard anthological pieces. The outbreak of World War I brought him back to the United States. But his fame did not decline, and his unusual abilities were well established by this time. He received Pulitzer Prize for poetry 4 times. His works are noted for combining characteristics of both Romanticism and modernism. Never before had an American poet attained such rapid fame after such a frustrating delay. The poem, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening, holds a special place in American hearts. Frost wrote this poem while residing in the village of Franconia. It seems likely that woods near this village inspired him to write this poem. It was published in his collection called New Hampshire in 1923. It was for this collection of poems that he won the first of the 4 Pulitzer Prizes. Now let me read out the poem Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Let us move on to the structure of the poem. The form also. As you can see in the poem, it consists of 4 quatrains which are neatly arranged. You see the 4 quatrains that are there, which are neatly arranged by Robert Frost. Each line is iambic with 4 stressed syllables which has been marked in red at the top of the first line. Remember, an iamb is a foot or beat consisting of an unstressed syllable followed by a stressed one. The poem is written in iambic tetrameter. Tetra means 4. So you can see on the slide in the first line itself, you see unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed. In this way you will have 4 of them such iambs, and hence it is iambic tetrameter. Iamb is unstressed stress and tetra stands for 4. So such iambs are 4 in number, and so iambic tetrameter. The rhyme scheme, which you can see at the end of each line in capital letter, this is for your convenience. The rhyme scheme is AA, BA, BB, CB, CC, DC. The last one is a variant, DD, DD. So the third line, the rhyme of the third line moves on to the next stanza. As you can see, in the first stanza, B shifts to the next stanza. The C of the second stanza moves on to the third one, and from the third line of the third stanza, D moves on to the last one. And the last one, however, has a different rhyme scheme. It is DD, DD. This matchless, elegant poem is in the form of interior monologue. The poet is speaking to himself as if. This poem illustrates many of the qualities, most characteristics of Frost, including the attention to natural details, the relationship between humans and nature, and the strong theme suggested by individual lines. The first line establishes the tone of a person musing quietly to himself. Whose woods these are, I think I know. And the setting is clarified as a winter evening in a rural environment. So it's a rural evening which you can very well see as you read the poem. It's the darkest evening of the year and the woods are filled up with snow. So it's woods evening and it is snowy evening. It is a dark and quiet wintry night, and the speaker stops his horse in order to gaze at the beauty of the surrounding. He believes that he knows the owner of the woods, as it is very clear in the first stanza. The owner will not even come to know that he has stopped to watch the snowfall. In the second stanza, the speaker projects his own thought onto the horse. My little horse must think it queer, he says in the second stanza. Who doesn't understand as to why they have stopped. There's no practical reason to stop. It's not his destination, and so it gives its harness bells a shake. In the next stanza, in the third stanza, we see that the horse is denoted as he, and he gives his harness bells a shake to remind the poet, the traveler, that this is, perhaps he has made a mistake and this is not his destination. The woods are ominously tempting and acquire symbolic resonance in the last stanza, which concludes with one of Frost's oft-quoted lines, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. One interpretation of this poem is that the speaker is tempted towards death, which he considers lovely, dark and deep, but that he has many responsibilities to fulfill before he can sleep. The darkest evening of the year, you notice in the second stanza, suggests to some critics depression and death. However, Frost during his lifetime has emphatically stated that this poem is not about death. Coming to the theme of the poem, critics have generally agreed that the central theme of the poem is the dilemma in choosing between the all-alluring nature and the pulse of obligations and responsibilities of everyday life. This duality is evident in another of Frost's poem, which is The Road Not Taken. Again, it is there in the syllabus of PG Semester 4. Coming to the figures of speech in the poem, the first thing that I would like to draw your attention to is alliteration. Alliteration is here in the poem in bold black letters, marked in bold. You see his house, watch woods, sound sweep, dark deep. You can find some more of them in this poem. This is just an example which I have given. Then we have anaphora. Anaphora is there in the last two lines. And miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Personification is evident in the horse being treated as a human being. You see, he gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. So he and his here stands for the horse instead of it. Now, imagery is very important in this poem. There are visual and auditory images. Visual imagery is more prominent in the first stanza of the, you can come to see in the last line of the first stanza. To watch his woods fill up with snow. It's beautifully written. The woods are filled up with snow. And the second stanza too, you see, to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. So more prominently it can be seen, the visual images can be seen in the second stanza. Auditory, again you move on to the third stanza, you see full of auditory images here, imagery. You see a harness bells a shake, shaking of the harness bells. Then the only other sounds, the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. So these are the auditory imagery here. And however, we notice once again an important thing, and that is that every image is precise in this poem, not merely beautiful but inextricably fused with the central idea of the poem. And with this I end the poem. Thank you. These we have already discussed. Thank you.